All right, guys. Well, welcome back to Boots Come in Pairs, and we have yet another guest. Ryan, we've just had, I don't know, the last four have been phenomenal, and no pressure
Yes.
on you because our new guest is now Ryan Veinotte, not Kendra. I know his name is kind of don't ignore that, but we've just been very lucky to have some really good baseball conversations with really good people, including last week with Ryan Noda, which was a lot of fun because he's again taking those plate appearances that none of us have. But this week we have Ryan Vino, who's also a childhood friend. Actually, my favorite memory, because Ryan's got a brother, Zach, too, with the Vinos, was our last floor hockey game against each other, which I was playing goalie, and I was going to play goalie the whole time. My team was terrible, but our team won. They lost. So it was nice to send them out on a loss, but that was probably the last time that we were playing competitive sports against each other. So it's nice to see you and talk to you again.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me on. And yeah, all those childhood memories. It's funny how we just don't forget those. So I
Mhm.
go right back to that game, taking a couple shots on you the last couple seconds there. And yeah,
That
yeah,
was an intense game, that's for sure.
yeah,
Yep.
Yeah.
an
Well,
intense fourth place teams bracket. Yeah.
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 Well, I mean, let's take it to back to more happy times. I mean, yeah, like Brandon was saying, we grew up with Ryan and his brother Zach playing sports against them in Lake Villa baseball, playing sports with them in the youth license hockey league. My fond memory was the year before that when I was in eighth grade and you guys were in seventh grade, and we had the pleasure of having you two on our team. And again, just incredible competitors you guys were. Made that season so fun. We were a first place team. We had Brandon and net, had a couple great defensive pairings, and aside from you two just wreaking havoc up front of the net, it made my job as a center middle defenseman so easy because I could just play my game, and I knew you guys were going to go in the corner and dig pucks out, and you were going to crash the net, and I could rely on you guys to get back and play defense. So that, and then playing against you guys in Lake Villa baseball was a pleasure. I mean, anybody who was fortunate enough to get you two on their team, it was just great. You guys are just great athletes and great people, and we're just so fortunate to have you on today. Still getting to talk after all these years. I mean, you brought something up a couple weeks ago when we were kind of chatting back and forth. Just this random time that we played street hockey together in Lake Zurich, and I will never forget that either because it was a bunch of our childhood friends, and I think I might have thrown something out on Facebook back then, and you're like, we'd be down to play, and then you guys showed up, and we had a blast, and I think that was probably the last time we saw each other. But great
Yeah.
memories.
Yeah, I
Miss
was just
those
talking about
times.
that. Yeah, I was just talking about that. I think that was the last time that we saw each other. If only we knew that was going to be the last time. So,
Yeah, but now rekindled.
yeah,
Glad to see you now. Glad to see that you're doing well, and that you're doing something that you love. So just to start this whole thing out, gonna get into the baseball side of things. So you grew up playing baseball. You grew up in Lake County like we did, playing baseball, watching baseball. What was your earliest memory of falling in love with this game that we love to talk about and play and watch? What was your first earliest memory, and just why have you stuck with it as long as you have?
yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, my some of my memories come from. I just go way back to a summer where I was playing neighborhood pickup games with a tennis ball and starting to learn how to catch and learn how to, bat and all that. And I mean, I just remember catching this fly ball, and I'm like, oh, I guess I can do this. This is my first. I was younger, and the next season, my mom signed us up for Pinto because that's what we wanted to do, and I think Lake Villa Sports, and I talk about it all the time here, is just Lake Villa Sports was very organized, is very well run, which made it really easy to fall in love with the game and then
Mm-hmm.
continue on. And the coaching was very competitive, even though it was in house. It
Mm-hmm.
was competitive nature, so they teach you what that means and how to win and what you want
Mm-hmm.
to do and how to beat the opposition. And
Mm-hmm.
so I just kind of fell in love with the. I found out I was a competitor at a young age, and I love competition. And baseball is just such a unique sport that it in nowadays it's like things like this that bring you back. Like, okay, this is what
Mhm.
baseball is. It just brings people together, and that's what I love about it so much.
Mhm. Yeah, and to add to what you said there, like I don't think I think a lot of us look more fondly back at it now, but just how, like you said, the competition, like even being in-house, like we lived in Round Lake, so we could have played in Avon, we could have played at
Mhm.
Grant, but like Lake Villa drew us in and kept us there. And the number of people who were not necessarily Lake Villa residents who were playing Lake Villa baseball, because they welcomed everybody. It was just about like having fun, but the competition was fierce. I mean, we get to pony, and like you're playing essentially travel baseball. You're playing
Right.
against other towns. You're playing against Wonder Lake and Hebron and Richmond and Island Lake and Genoa City. Like these are all, you're essentially playing an in-house travel baseball program type deal. So it was just crazy how competitive that all was, and I think it ultimately contributed to us loving the game even more.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
So you end up going to SIU, which also another guest we had, Nick Gunther, who was a classmate of yours. Apparently, that's a hotbed for people who want to get into the baseball business. But you get into SIU. What made you realize you want to go into the baseball business as opposed to, because again, we kind of all realize that hey, we're not going to make it, as far as we want to go, right? We all want to be big leaguers, but what made you kind of flip over and want to join the business side?
Yeah. It's funny the way it happened. So I went to school really thinking I want to be this PE teacher, with every intention of going to school and probably just getting my degree and moving back up into the Lake County area, teaching at a Fox Valley school, or now what they call it, North Suburban School,
Mm-hmm.
and living the rest of my life, right? But like most college, you have this plan and it doesn't really work, or something happens. So I just kind of realized that teaching wasn't for me. I kind of fell behind in the, like, it's a very strict, like, okay, if you miss this class, or if you don't pass this test at this time, and you start falling behind pretty quickly, and your student teaching would be pushed back, and I didn't want to do that. So at some point my sophomore year, I was just like, okay, I need to make a decision. Do I want to stick with this, or do I want to do something else? And I went to my advisor and was like, all right, well, where can my credits transfer to? And it was like sports admin,
Oh.
was one of the choices. And um, now, at the time, I didn't know the jobs that I live in or breathe in now existed. So it was a way to kind of get in, and I just started talking more and more about what does that mean, and how do you get involved. And um, first thing they say is like, just do internships, and it's a hard industry to break into. So you really have to kind of work your way up the ladder as fast and as much as you can. So um, and that led to me working at the Southern Illinois Miners that summer of 2013, in between my junior and senior year, which that was a great experience. I was just a game day staff. It was a great intro into the business. And I would almost recommend that. Like, a lot of times people just want to jump into internships, but slowly, like, my game day, like Nick Gunther, for example, was an intern and he was full
Mm-hmm.
time. For me, I was still taking classes, and I would just show up to be an usher. And usher was easy, like, it's ticket taking, and starting to build those relationships with the season ticket holders. It was a good intro. So, and I did that, and that was kind of my segue. And then the next summer, I needed to do an internship as part of my to graduate. So I just started looking at just random anywhere I want to go, and just kind of enjoy the summer and figure out figure it out from there. So I just remember being on Teamwork Online, and which is where you find a lot of the sports jobs. And I seen this new AAA El Paso team, and there was this ticket sales internship that started in May. So I just remember texting my wife or girlfriend at the time, and I was like, "Hey, should I try this one?" And it's like, "Yeah, go for it. Why not?" And landed an interview the next week, and had a offer the next day after that. So everything kind of fell into place from there. So it was that's kind of how I got off and started. And yeah, that's kind of how my career started to build. Um, they say ticket sales is the way in, and I'm happy to talk more about ticket sales
Yeah.
as we go. But yeah,
How had you ever spent any time in Texas before you took that internship, or was this going to be brand new ground for you and Kendra, heading to El Paso?
yeah, good question. We had my wife and I met at a on a mission trip to Juarez, Mexico, which is
Mm.
just south of El Paso. So yeah, I was fairly familiar with it, but that was my only experience in Texas. I knew I was interested in Texas, Arizona, Florida because I really started to enjoy the warmer weather.
Mhm.
Um,
Yep.
Ryan, it's -8 degrees outside here in Wisconsin. So
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, it's
right.
cold. Lots
yeah.
of
Perfect
snow, it's
weather.
cold.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh.
Yeah, and we had binged Friday Night Lights with some friends too, and I was like, this is kind of cool culture. I'd be interested and like perfect for an internship, right? Just you go and try it out, see what you think, and everything fell into place after that.
So you start as an intern and you're in sales. So how was that? You spent a couple years with this organization, and how did that whole transition start from like intern to like, hey, I want to stay here and I want to do this? Like your experience must have been pretty good as an intern if you decided to make this your full-time job. So go into that a little bit.
Yeah, sure. I mean, when I was jumping into ticket sales, I didn't really know what I was doing. I mean, it was, but in any sales, you have to it just takes practice, is what they say. And what your main focus is booking company outings, group outings, season tickets, partial season tickets. So you're just making calls. That summer I was in charge of this swim night, which was kind of fun. Like a lot, I know Nick Gunther got into how you have theme nights in minor
Hmm.
league, and some of those themes are geared to help sell group tickets. Swim night would be one of them, where somebody like Nick is coming up with all the graphics that are going to go along with that night. But then it's my job to come up with the tickets and get people there. So I was just calling out a lot of high school swim clubs, a lot of club swim groups, and seeing that kind of come to light. I was like, wow, like it's kind of stressful because it's like your job to make sure people are there. But and then on game day, you just see them having such a good time, and that's the baseball part of it. Now it's like, wow, like
Hmm.
this really brings joy to people's lives, and seeing that come to fruition, that's when I knew I really wanted to pursue this long term. And I had a conversation with my boss shortly after that, saying, hey, is there going to be room for me after this for a full time thing? And he said we can start having those conversations, and one thing kind of led from there. So yeah, that's kind of where that summer started and got to.
Okay. Yeah, because ticket sales, I mean, I would imagine. So the one thing we asked Nick was like, "Oh, what do you do in the off season?" Like he always gets that question. But I would imagine ticket sales, there is a certain lull where you might not be full time. So is that was obviously a situation with you then where you're looking for something a little more solidified.
Yeah, yeah. So every team does it differently, but in most cases, you have full time. Like I'm full time now and have been since that August of 2014. But you'll have there's a lot of services reps who main their job is for retention, and in most of the cases it was retaining the season tickets clients. And so the way the Astros have it set up, like I sell new season tickets, but then they get passed off to a service rep where their whole job is to retain them. Now in El Paso is a little different, where you sold and serviced all your customers. So everybody, I was in charge of coming up with my, selling my own people and taking care of them. So every team does it a little bit differently. Once you have a huge base, there's more and more full time service reps that are needed and required. So that's how you build that, though.
I would imagine too selling Astros season tickets, especially right now when you're basically in the World Series every year, is a little easier than it is in El Paso,
Yeah.
for sure. And especially if you have to do all the side work too, that's a different challenge.
Yes, exactly. So yeah, I mean, we have our service team our season ticket holders. We try to take as good care of them as we can. I mean, a couple of the benefits that I like, and again, I'm nicest part is I just get to talk about this and I don't have to do anything to execute it. But they're in charge of. There's a away game road trip which they're actually going to Wrigley Field this year.
Nice.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so season tickets, all they got to do is we take care of their plane ticket, their hotel, their baseball ticket, any other things that we'll offer around Chicago. We just sell it to them in a package at a discounted rate. They show up and enjoy themselves. We have batting practice with them. We've gotten into a point system where they can build up. Points from like the MLB Ballpark app will track the check-ins and other purchases that you can build up points and buy batting practice passes. We have autograph sessions, things like that. So yeah, it's our season ticket holders get all those benefits, and then it's really nice to be able to sell that and know they're going to be in good hands down the road.
Mm-hmm.
This might be jumping a little too forward, right? But I think it's a good time to ask it. How do you like the new schedule format where every team plays everybody? Do you feel like that helps keep the interest level at the ballpark?
Oh, absolutely. Yes, that's like a daily conversation around the office is
Mm-hmm.
because we know we're going to have the Cubs like
Mm-hmm.
every other year or every third year at least. If we don't have the Cubs, we're going to get the Cardinals,
Mm-hmm.
or we're going to get the Mets. We know we're going to get the Dodgers every other year. Yeah, that absolutely helps drive like interest, right? I mean, because
Mm-hmm.
sometimes the group clients and company outings, that's the first thing they're asking, like who's playing, because they'll always have in mind like when you want to have your event, whether that be April or May or later in quarter 3 in August or September. And then you narrow it down from there. Sometimes companies will want to entertain during the week, during the weekday games or weeknight, and then sometimes weekends, and you narrow it down from there. So, I mean, if you have the Cardinals on a weekend and somebody's really looking for a weekend game, it's like, okay, this is Saturday night. It's come and the Cardinals aren't here every year. It becomes an easier sale from there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's again, there's so many like different metrics and different just situations that play into this sales thing. Because again, we don't, as fans, it's like we're buying tickets, but like we don't realize like neither one of us has been a season ticket holder before. So but like you trying to sell people, trying to get, and you just, it's not so much like the minor league atmosphere where it's like, oh well, there's entertainment value. Like most of the reason people go to the ballpark is to watch the game, like,
Right.
and enjoy the time, maybe enjoy the team that they're watching. We definitely want to dig into the Astros stuff a little bit more in a second, but like I just wrapping up your time in minor league baseball and El Paso, like what were some fond memories of being there, and what did you learn about yourself before you made that next jump to the MLB level?
Yeah.
Be
Yeah.
curious to hear that.
Perfect. Yeah, thanks for taking it back a little bit there. I mean, so my 2 full-time seasons there, I mean, it was a great experience because I had started to really develop those relationships. After a while, as soon as the schedule comes out, you can reach out to some of your customers who always buy right away. You know that they're like, hey, the schedule's out. Let's look at it and then let's get you booked in. So having started that and was fun, and some of the best memories though were like 4th of July. I know Nick Gunther talked
Yeah.
about it a little bit after the game on 4th of July. You're having beers on the field.
Mhm.
You don't do that in Major League. It's not how it
No.
works. Uh, yeah. So I mean that was fun, and that in 2016. Um, yeah, no, in 2015 we actually hosted the AAA national championship game,
Oh
and
wow.
that was an experience. And and there was a little bit more I could do with it because a lot of our staff had was gone for the season, so I got to be a clubby for that game. And I always tell people I was a clubby for John Singleton
Oh
that
wow.
year.
Yeah.
And later they went on to win the game, and we actually got to participate in the aftermath, the after party with them. So I've partied with John Singleton
Oh
as well.
wow.
I,
Yeah,
I will say
He's
for
had a journey for
yeah.
sure. He's had quite a journey. And I mean, he was kind of John was like that intro to like let's give a young guy who has not played a game yet a big contract and maybe it will pay off for us. It'll pay off for him in the short term, but it might pay off for us in the long term. And it's been cool to see him like really battle because he's had times where he's looked like the next 40 home run guy, and then he's
Hmm.
had other times where he's struggled a lot. I last year we were in Nashville and he was playing first base for the AAA. He was playing base for the Sounds. I mean, the Brewers were playing. They were playing the Orioles system. So Grayson Rodriguez was pitching, and Adley Rutschman was catching, and John Singleton was playing first base. So I'm like, okay, there's where John is. Like, and then
Yeah,
he played up for most of the year, and it's just good to see those guys like persevere. These once top prospects who kind of need to reinvent themselves and try their best to stay in the game. But yeah, I mean, yeah, cool that you got to do that with him and share that experience. I mean, that's what minor league baseball is all about, though. I mean,
yeah,
you get to
yeah.
celebrate, you get to enjoy yourself, and all that stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. That was fun in 2015, and then that led into 2016, where the Padres AAA team, we actually won we lost the big game there, but the conference championship, or the league championship, and so that was my first ring I got, which was fun. So that year they had Manuel Margot, they had Hunter
Ooh,
Renfroe.
okay.
Yeah, so some of those guys that you see in the big leagues now. So every time they'll pop in. When my wife and I were watching baseball, like she's like, where does that sound familiar? Like, oh, he was a Chihuahua when we were there.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
gotta love
that's super
going to the
cool.
games. It was,
yeah.
so what is, especially at the minor league level, you probably had a little more access. I would imagine now you don't have too much access to players being in the front office, or do you have a little bit?
Ah, yeah. So it's kind of a question that you get, and
Mm,
I think I kind of missed that player interaction. I think jumping from independent ball to AAA, I think a lot of that player interaction happens on the
yep,
the low A, the
Hmm.
single A.
yep,
So even at AAA, I didn't really get much interaction with the players, and
right,
that's just at that point, they kind of are there. They're really trying to make it like,
Hmm.
don't bother me type situation.
right.
So
Yeah, because they're
yeah,
one step away, especially
yeah,
being where they're at is like, if you're San Diego, that's one thing, but yeah, if you're a AAA team and you're really close to the major league team, that's a different feel for sure. But also even just the comparison, you're right, from high A to AAA is it's a different staff. You have more people probably involved in the game,
yeah,
more people attending the games, and then
Hmm.
probably a little more professional because you're just kind of again one step away.
Yeah,
right,
and they're doing their job and you're doing your job, which is to get people in these seats so they can watch these guys play. And I mean, that's
right,
another thing. Like I think it's an understated thing as a baseball player, like just the likability factor. Like you don't really need people to like you, but it helps if they do. Or if they don't
yeah,
like you, like it just gives them people a reason to come and watch you, whether it's to cheer you on or hate on you or whatever. But again, it's all a part of the experience and like
Yeah,
like what you're doing in sales. I mean, that's so important. It's so important to organizations and just expanding the game to new audiences and all that. I mean, it's just again, it's fascinating, just all the things that you don't think about as a casual, not even a casual fan. I would say that we're a little bit more than casual fans, but just as a fan in general, just all the work, all the different people, and all the things that make an organization go. It's unbelievable.
I'm sure it's a little bit of a mindset shift too, where you're not going to the ballpark to have fun. You're going to the ballpark to work, and
hmm
you're kind of not you're not a fan anymore because this is your business. So, was that a shift when you first started of like instead of like just being like, oh, it's cool, I'm going to a ballpark instead of like I'm going to the office, I'm going to put the hours in.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. That was a shift. I mean, in AAA, it was you pride yourself in minor league baseball on wearing multiple hats. So, you go and you stay all night. You're there, for what's needed. Um, and yeah, absolutely, you weren't there to watch the game. You're there to take care and make sure everything goes smoothly. But um, the nice thing about Major League and the Astros in not necessarily wearing multiple hats and focusing on ticket sales is I really, by the first, second, third inning, after I visited customers, shook hands, at that point, there isn't a whole lot left to do. So at that point, I can kind of transition into being a fan
That's
and
cool.
having my, like, I call it my hobby Astros, and then I have work Astros.
Yeah.
So so yeah, that's at that point it's fun, and that's where you have to enjoy working, and but you have to, like, this is why we got into it, so we can enjoy it too. So
Hmm.
yeah, absolutely.
Especially in the World Series, because I've seen you watch this
Hmm.
game. It's funny because you get the snippets, and like I think everyone just sees, because again, this is another level for us. You have 2 more World Series rings than I will ever have, regardless of your position with the team. So like, but everyone I think sees probably like, oh look, he's celebrating, he's watching the games. But I think that's just a small fraction
Hmm.
of what you do,
Hmm.
and that's probably the
Yeah.
reward for a long season of work and
Hmm.
planning, and getting all these people to this point where you can enjoy it a little bit. And it's probably just the payoff piece at the end that everyone gets to, oh yeah, Ryan's
Yeah.
just having a good time.
Yeah. That's exactly what it is. I mean, and it's a good way to celebrate a hard season, because in when getting and making those playoff runs, that's really when you see a lot of um, really how it works is you can ask people, hey, are you willing to commit to season tickets? We've held back tickets at face value for people who are willing to commit to season tickets. So
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
as you're going for the postseason, you're like constantly selling and servicing and selling, and
Hmm.
getting those people in for the next year while getting them taken care of for those tickets that we've held back. So
Right.
um, and those same thing with suites and group spaces. And especially when you have game times getting announced like the day before or the night before, and you're expected to sell all these suites,
Hmm.
the next night. Luckily, in most cases, for an ALCS game, people are going to clear their schedules if they get an invite to a
Yes.
World Series game. So
Yeah,
that's
absolutely.
yeah, yeah, but it's that initial contact that's, hey, you want to, spend all this money on this World Series, you know, yeah, you'll be able to get 25 people. Don't worry about it. You'll get 25 people.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, one of the incentives of being a season ticket holder is that you get first crack at playoff tickets, right?
Yeah,
That's why people, especially in Houston, when you're selling out most games, and then for sure selling out the postseason, is that you want access to these tickets, and you may not have it if you're in the general public, or you're going to be paying triple, quadruple the price
Hmm.
if you buy it through a StubHub or a secondary market. So a lot of people, even if they don't want a full season ticket, may just take it for that playoff
yeah.
opportunity.
Hmm.
I mean, yeah, there's tickets out there, there's packages. I mean, my first year, I'm sitting here looking on StubHub saying, "Hey, our the least expensive full season tickets $2,500, or you could just straight up pay 2,000 for this World Series on StubHub." It's a
Hmm.
no-brainer, like,
Right.
Yeah.
if you can get them to see that. And then if you're getting full season tickets for the next year.
Yeah.
So yeah, it
So it's interesting too, because when me and Ryan visited Houston in 20, I think we determined it was 2017. Um,
No. 2016.
2016.
It was
It was,
the year before they won.
yeah.
Yeah.
The games we were at, there was maybe like 12 to 15,000 people in the stands, and that's being generous, I think, because it was pretty. We started in the outfield, and we literally went to a different section for like each part of the game because there was no one there, and like it was really easy to move around.
Yeah.
Did you start in 2017 or 2016?
Yeah, so my
2017.
start date was January 17, so I've been
Okay.
here. I wouldn't have been there when y'all were
Right.
there.
So you
Yeah.
you started
So,
at the right time, because I
yes.
have to imagine, again, when the team's good, it's easy to sell tickets, but I'd have to imagine your job would be immensely more difficult working for an organization that maybe wasn't drawing as good as the Astros are.
Hmm.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, It's a good point. I mean, that's when you have to get creative. You have to go to the drawing board. You have to come up with certain flash sales, is what we can call them. Is if a game is struggling, sometimes we'll come up with a 24-hour deal where it's upper level ticket for $20, just so we can get some good attendance in there because the expectation. So I get this a lot too. It's like, yeah, it should be easier. Absolutely, it's easier, but the expectations are so much higher. So
Yes.
with that comes, yeah, it's not just like, oh, let's get 20,000 people in there and call it good. Like
No.
now, the expectation is close to a sellout just about every single game. So, and it's hard to do that for a Monday, Tuesday game, certain Monday
Yeah.
and Tuesday night games when
Yep.
you have a long homestand and like, I'll just wait till Friday, Saturday, Sunday instead. So yeah, that's it's good to see our organization kind of come from what it was in 2015 to now. And I have to say, hey, Ryan Noda, man, if you're listening, thank you for everything you said about us last week. That means a lot, even coming from the players that you can see the hard work that we put into to make it a good experience for everybody.
Hmm.
Yeah. And a testament to your fan
Absolutely.
base
Yeah.
that shows up. Yeah.
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 Well, let's talk about this jump. So
Yeah.
your first big boy job is AAA. I mean, AAA baseball organization, account executive in sales. And then in 2017, you make this jump to the big leagues. So how did all that transpire? Like how do you go? I mean, you're still in the Lone Star State, you're still in Texas, but like that's still a big jump. Like baseball is a big business. So how did that transition go? Was there a job on LinkedIn or Job Monster or Monster Jobs, or like how did you make this jump from
Yeah.
AAA to the big leagues?
Yeah, absolutely. So it goes back to a couple big moments of that summer of 2016. So Kendra and I got married June of 2016. Went our honeymoon, came back, and it's July. And at that point, we're married, and like, hey, what do we see? What do we want to do long term, right? And we're out at the pool that August. We know our lease is kind of coming up later on in that year. Like, what do we want to do? Do we want to stay here? Do we want to start looking? So one part of the conversation leads to another, and we kind of come up with a couple cities where we'd want to live in. I know Denver was one, Charlotte, North Carolina was one, and we just looked on the map, and both of us have this aha moment of like, well, what about Houston? Houston's a huge city with a good economy, a lot of jobs. It's warm. It's still in Texas. Um,
Incredible food.
yeah, exactly. And now I hear it every once in a while. Like people kind of say, like Houston is the Chicago of the South. You kind of feel that same culture. It's very diverse. It's there's a lot going on. Good food. And yeah, so we ironically 2 days later, a coworker comes up to me and he's just like, the Astros have an opening, and I was like, oh, that is ironic, right? And he and I just was like, I'll give it a shot. So I threw out my resume that way, and I don't know how, but in conversation, I want to say either that night or the next day, I found out the guy who was hiring for that position worked with another colleague at Arizona State, which I think that's an Arizona State sweatshirt that you
Yeah,
have on.
it is. I graduated in March of last year. So I was an online student. It was not. It was still here. It was still cold, but yeah,
Okay.
I'm an ASU alumni, but never. Well,
Congrats.
been there once. Yeah.
Yeah, so they worked together, and I was like, "Oh, no kidding! Like, can you reach out?" And he did, and I went through the process. It was like a season ticket sales role, and I went through the process, got here. I'm like, "Oh yeah, this is going to be great," and it was wild, but I didn't get it. They picked a couple more people, but I was like, "Hey, like, keep me in mind for the future." Long story short, 4 months later, they called me back for another position, which was at the time we had season tickets season ticket services, and group sales. This was a group sales role. And yeah, like one thing led to another. That January of 17 was my first start date, and I've been here since, and it's been a lot of fun.
Isn't it crazy how the connections you make like lead to that next role? And the crazy thing is, it's just like we're all like these little worker bees, like flying
Mm-hmm.
around, just trying to figure out like what's going to pay the bills, what's going to bring us joy, what's going to take care of things in the future. And it's like what people don't even realize is that like no matter what job you're working, you're always making an impression on someone. You're
Mm-hmm.
always connecting with people, and it's just amazing that like just a connection from a different job connected you to that. You didn't get the job right away, and then they just kept you in mind, and it's crazy how all that works. That and it's just it's a smaller world than we really give it credit for, but yeah, I mean, you must have made an impression on them because they decided to run with you. And I mean, I don't know if that string of success started when you did, but it seems to have because I mean, the Astros 05, oh 06, they were oh 05, they were in the World Series against the White Sox. They had a really, really long cold streak around the 15-16 season. They get back to the division series, and then in 17, the same year you start, they
Mm-hmm.
just take off, win 2 World Series titles. They were in 4 World Series. They've been in the ALCS every single year. Like it's just an incredible organization. Can be a credit to the owners, the players that they drafted, and especially the staff that brings the people in the ballpark. So, I mean, like, so you get the job. Uh, what is your impression of this team when you start?
Yeah, I mean, it was when you first get there, you realize how much bigger the ballpark is, and how much bigger the city is, and how much more expectation there is, and really, and now I help a lot of our new hires that are coming from smaller teams or minor league teams, but you have a bit of sticker shock, like. Some of our season tickets, especially in the premium areas, go for $25,000 a seat. So you're
Mm.
having $100,000 conversation, and here I am, right, like a kid from Lake Villa, single mom. Like it's like we didn't have money for that stuff, right? So
No.
it was a different. It was that sticker shock was tough. I remember having a conversation with my boss of like, and he was like, we got to be calling single game buyers, and single game buyers are people that just buy tickets to a couple games, and we can narrow it down. They bought the expensive tickets to these expensive games. These are going to be the best leads. And I'm just like, I don't know if it's the best use of my time. I think I'm going to reach out to businesses instead. And a lot of it was because like I can't afford this myself. So
Yeah.
yeah, so he's like, you got to get over that. You got to get over that. And you just got to say it confidently. You got to have those high dollar conversations more comfortably. Just talk about it like it's $2, and you should. Because to them it probably is, and
Yeah.
so that was the toughest transition. It was just how, like, you're talking how big of a jump. Like it was a big jump in more ways than you would think.
Hmm.
It's funny because we've sat one time at Wrigley. We were 10 rows behind home plate. Actually, it was a crosstown game, and we got the tickets from our uncle, who's a golf pro. So like the guy he was giving lessons to gave him the tickets, and we sit down, and the people behind us are like, "Who do you know?
Yeah, yeah,
Why are
yeah,
you
yeah.
sitting there?" And I'm like, "What? We have the ticket. That's why, because the ticket says we sit here." And they're like, "No, no. Who do you know?" He goes, "Because that's I think it was the Ricket tickets. Like they were
Hmm.
actually, the guy my uncle got them from was a contractor for bidding on construction. So that's why these tickets were in our possession. But it was just like, it's a different level down there. We're like,
There's a story to those tickets.
yeah.
Yes,
We're
yes,
like,
yeah,
Yes.
we do
yeah.
not belong here. But the guy behind us was a season ticket holder, and he's like, I know every person that sits in those seats. And he goes, "You're not it." And I'm like, "I don't know,
Yeah,
man. I'll tell you." But that's probably also when you're going on that call list. Nolan Ryan sits behind home plate.
right. Yeah.
Celebrities sit behind home plate.
Mattress Mac.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yep.
Mattress Max. Yes, exactly. Mattress Mac is a huge supporter of Astros. Yes,
He sure is.
He's a huge supporter of a lot of things.
yes. He, I mean, Mattress Mackle, he does buy a lot of tickets just to give them out to his customers. It's great to see. He's a huge supporter of the Astros. So yeah, it's to have people like that backing you is so good. It's so nice. It's just but I mean, yeah, like the transition, and yeah, like the team just takes off. I mean, from day one, you kind of felt like it was the Astros had built a winning culture. It was like there, it's not like that. It's a winning mentality. Like everybody, you expect to win. And if you don't win, you find out why and correct that and make sure that that's happening and changing and constantly evolving, constantly looking to get better. And this is like that's on the field, but that also trickles down to ticket sales. It trickles down to premium sales and corporate sales. And okay, what are people saying? Like, how can we make this better for our customers, and also so we can get the money for our players and to make the stadium better. We've really built a culture that's always trying to get better, be the best. I remember my first year there. I heard somebody say, and this is somebody from ticket ops, or not ticket ops, stadium operations, but I'm sorry, no, baseball operations. So works with the players, and she goes, "Yeah, we want to be the best, but when you say that, it can kind of be a little bit intimidating. So really, what we want to do is we look at who's the best, do what they're doing, and then just do it a little bit better." And then that's how you become the best. So I've adopted that ever since then. I've adopted that with being like in a sales role. Like, of course, it's competitive, and you want to be number one on the board. And you find out if somebody's starting to do better than you. Like, ask them, hey, like, what are you doing to make sure you're closing these deals, and what am I saying, and kind of compare. And that's the culture that we have, is always everybody keeping each other accountable, getting better. Which makes it fun. It makes it really enjoyable.
If you're feeling that in your position, it makes all the sense in the world that they've been in the past 7 playoffs and World Series, and like that just solidifies that. Because again, if you're feeling that, and you are probably as far removed from the field until you get down to the 5th inning when you don't have to deal with customers anymore, but like that's just an organizational health thing, right? We hear it all the time with other organizations. They're like, oh, this is good, this is bad, this is good. But like that sounds like from top to bottom, they just are getting it right in so many areas.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's just like there's things that we don't have that other teams do. But okay, we may not have this, but we have this. How do we create that? And how do we, for example, there's teams that have 1,000 premium tickets, premium seats that y'all are talking about that you sat in at Wrigley.
Yeah.
We don't have 1,000, and they charge more per night. So we have anywhere from like 400 to 500 premium tickets, and we don't charge $1,000 a night. We charge more like in the 400 to 500 range. So we're losing in there, but like where are we making up for that lost revenue elsewhere? So I mean, we have our floor is ticket sales and strategy. Personally, I do tend to like the strategy part of it, even though I am more on the sales side. The strategic part is what kind of keeps me energized, keeps me going, keeps the creative juices flowing, which is always fun.
Can you go into that a little bit? Like, so I mean, there's all sorts of strategizing and things that you can do to try to sell tickets. I guess if you're not allowed to reveal your trade secrets, you don't have to. But what are some of those things that get you going on the strategy side of things?
Yeah, I mean, there's the first thing that comes to mind is I've slowly taken on our Little League initiatives. We have what we call Future Astros program, and the Future Astros program is the way we fill the seats on Sundays, the first couple Sundays of the year during the school year, and it's the entire league is invited out essentially. So it would be like, okay, I'm from the Brewers, I'm reaching out to the Lakeville Baseball. Lakeville Baseball signs up. Um, it by signing up, they cover a ticket to the game for the ball player, but really all the money's made on the family tickets. The aunts, uncles, and the ball players actually have a parade around the field. Instead of just like, oh well, Sunday we're going to count that as a wash, like you look for opportunity to fill that. Like, how do you fill April and May games? Baseball's in session, especially in Texas. Baseball season starts as early in February and April for Little League. And let's capitalize on that instead of just counting that as a wash. So one of many things that's always flowing through my mind on the strategy side.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if you remember this, Ryan. Our first big league game we ever went to was a family night kind of deal with the Brewers.
Yep.
We got a discounted ticket to sit in the bleachers, but that was, vividly remember. I think it was Brewers White Sox, but it was a discounted ticket thing where, yeah, you're right. I'm sure it's just getting us there was the biggest pull on that. So
and that changes your perspective as a kid. I mean, we were in right field. I remember. I remember staring down at Jeff Jenkins, like the back of his jersey, number 5, and a lot of that can ignite just the spark in you. It's like, oh well, I really enjoy playing baseball, but I like being that first pro game. It's like, wow, like I love this game, and it's in my DNA, and that's the launching point. So yeah, I mean, stuff like that. I mean, as salespeople, I don't think you truly realize the impact that you're making on the next generation of baseball fans just by a strategy session that you have with your team. Like, hey, we're gonna do this. We're gonna have youth Astros night. We're gonna have family night. We're gonna do these things to get people at the ballpark. Because again, you're changing lives. You really are, and it's such a healthy sport, and it's such a incredible just philosophy for life. But yeah, I mean, it's just, and I mean, it also helps to have some of the exciting players that you've had over the years as well, and most of it, honestly, homegrown. I mean, Alex Bregman and Carlos Correa and Jose Altuve, international free agent. Yuli Gurriel spent several years with the team, international free agent. George Springer, first-round draft pick out of UConn, taking risks on guys like Justin Verlander and Garrett Cole, Charlie Morton. Like, those guys really revived their careers with the Astros and helped this team to the success that it's experiencing now. I mean, just incredible. I mean, there are times where I have not been the biggest fan of the Astros just because of the teams that they were playing against, but like always have had so much respect for the organization, especially in recent years. I would say, and Ryan Noda said it when he was on last week, what an incredible spot the juice box is to play in and to watch as a fan. I would say it's probably we've been to 20 ballparks. It's in my top 5 viewing experiences as a fan. Just super clean lines, like great visuals. It's got that old school like stockyard, train yard feel. I really enjoyed our time in Houston and at that ballpark. So kudos to you guys. We were there a little bit before you were, but it was again just a wonderful, just a wonderful place. A wonderful place.
Yeah, we appreciate I'm just, it makes me happy to hear that. That's what I do every day to hear things like that. I think, the way y'all were talking last week, I just think that it's kind of a mixture of a Miller Park with a Miller Park field with the Cubs fans type atmosphere. Like, these are real, these are huge baseball people that come out and really want to see their team win. And you have that Miller Park retractable roof. Every home run, there's fireworks, and the train goes back and forth, kind of like the Miller Park slide. So it's so Midwest people can really kind of come down and feel at home. It's good.
Yeah. So let's just say it's mid-July. you're on the back end of a 10-game homestand. What continues to motivate you to go to the ballpark? Because it's the other thing is you're going to the ballpark. You're not enjoying, like, it's not like a fun night for you every night. So what's in those grind out months? What keeps you going?
Yeah, the dog days of August are real.
Mhm.
Being in it, you get
110 degrees.
oh, yeah, yeah. My gosh, the dog days of August are real. You feel the July, that where that All-Star break hits. Like you just like everybody needs that break at that point in time. But you just what keeps you going is I mean, like we've dove into like the players, like the players need us to keep going. It's go time. Like this is make or break. We need to get that 1 seed. We need to get that 2 seed. Everybody needs to be bringing that energy and fighting through that. And then as you get closer and closer to the end of the season, you just start to regain that energy. It kind of just goes away. I don't know. It's hard to describe that those dog days of August, but when you're in them, oh man, it's brutal. But you know how important they are.
Mhm.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
absolutely. Um, what else do we have for Mr. Ryan?
I mean, World Series. How do we not talk about the World Series?
Yeah, oh my.
Which one's
So
better,
so you
the first or the second,
yeah,
or the
so
next
yeah,
one?
again.
Is the next one
So
better?
so you get so you get so you're so yeah, how do we not talk about the World Series championships? I mean,
How are you not wearing
obviously,
them? Are you wearing them?
yeah.
Please tell me you're wearing. No, no.
No, he's ringless. He's not there's no wedding ring on either.
Oh, geez.
Hey,
They don't
what
fit. That's why. Yeah.
the best ring, fellas, is the next ring.
Yeah.
So
Yes. Yeah. You
Okay.
can't dwell on it. But I
yeah.
mean, so you start your career, you win right away. I mean,
Hmm.
incredible experience for the whole fan base and for the players and for the organization and the staff. Um, so and then you're in the playoffs, you're in the heat of it. You're a step away or in the World Series every single year. I guess are there any interesting like experiences that you can recall like from any of the playoff runs or the World Series runs? Like what moments stick out in your head as being like really really special?
Yeah, and those Kendra and I cherish these moments more than anything. I mean, I'm fortunate. Like the Astros take good care of us. We can enjoy the games and we have tickets and don't have to worry about that. And some of those, I mean, the first playoff game, Altuve or Bregman and Altuve went back to back off
Mm-hmm.
sale, and that's look like I was working. Kendra was kind of running late because he didn't like account for the amount of traffic that comes with a playoff game.
Mm-hmm.
And we're walking up. Bregman hits a bomb, and then Altuve hits a bomb, and everybody is just like, "Whoa!" It's just like we really are on another level now. Like this is crazy. So that comes to mind as the ALDS game one of 2017.
Mm-hmm.
Altuve hit 3 homers that game, and
Mm-hmm.
that's when I really felt like this is special. Like we really can do this. Like we can go all the way. Um, but you go to the 2017 World Series. It's game two of the World Series in 17 when it just kind of became a slugfest late in the game. We send it to extra. Marwin Gonzalez
Mm-hmm.
late ninth inning to send it to extras. And you got Springer going yard, and those moments on the couch when you're watching it from afar, and then there's the moments that it's just so special when you're watching like 2017 game five. Like I was there, like to
Yeah.
say I was there. 13-12 game, and you just remember every moment of it.
Mm-hmm.
But it's weird that game I was kind of in a weird mood because you kind of just you get so emotional, like, and you almost are like I don't know if I can't do this anymore, like I'm so tired. And I'm not even the one standing up in the batter's
Yeah.
box.
Yeah. Yeah.
So but there's one moment that stands out more than any other, and um it's in 2022 or was it 22 World Series game 6. um it's me and a couple other of my colleagues, and like Schwarber had just hit the home run to go up 1-0 the inning before, and there's like a pitching change or some delay. And of course, because Alvarez was coming up, and they brought it. Who's why am I blanking on the Phillies pitcher that came in and he hit the home run off of? But yeah, but Alvarez is coming up, and Kendra is just like, oh my, like you can just see it. And one of my colleagues just says like, breathe, Kendra, just breathe. And 3 pitches later, Jordan's, bomb to dead center field, and this game is turned upside down. Like it's like that's the moment that's like, oh, you can only experience that. Like it's just it's something that you can't describe. It's just and when those things happen and they're running around the bases, you're just jumping around, you're dancing, like you have no idea what's happening. It's just a weird, crazy experience.
Well, being in your home ballpark too, like you're a fan, and it's exciting. Like we've never been to a World Series game. We've been to an ALCS game, which was exciting. But we were in enemy territory. We went to a Red Sox Tigers game. We were in Detroit at Comerica, so we couldn't really. There wasn't a whole lot to celebrate that game because it was a 1-0 game. But yeah, I'm sure like being as a fan at your home stadium, a monumental moment like that, it's just like pandemonium. Like
yeah, you can't write it. And when it's weird how you look back on those games and you remember how stressed you were, but you're so stressed because you don't know how it ends. Like in 2022 when Jordan finishes the comeback against Seattle in ALDS game 1 and he hits the walk-off, like when we were down like 6-1 or something that game, Kendra and I were making plans for the fall because we thought we were going to get eliminated. We're like, oh, where do we want to go travel to? This isn't going to go well. We only got a couple more days of this, and then fast forward 4 weeks, we're in the parade and partying in Houston.
Oh gosh, yeah, that's just it. You can't pinpoint the energy level of a postseason run. And you're right. You want it to be over, but you don't want it to end at the same time. But it's just, yeah. And if you guys probably remember all the Blackhawk runs too for the Stanley Cup.
Yeah, absolutely.
What's worse about hockey is that there literally is no end time. There's not 9 innings. It's just like, oh, they're in overtime. This could go on for another 6 hours. We have no idea.
Yeah.
At least you had some of an inclination that it might end that night. But yeah, that's
yeah. It's like you're making your, and I know you had mentioned to me in the past, just to like when we were trying to set this up, it's like, hey, I would love to come on, but you just never know what's going to happen. So I can't commit to anything. I need to make sure that the last nail's in the coffin before I do. And with the Astros, I mean, it might be the last day of the season before you get to breathe at all. And hopefully it's with another ring on your finger. But yeah, I mean,
well, he's not wearing them.
I'm sure. I'm sure the not being able to plan stuff it's worth it. It's worth it in the end when you get to experience that kind of joy.
Yeah, you leave your schedule completely open. It's as you said, like you leave October wide open, but then you start making all your plans. Like you literally say, okay, this is when the parade might happen, or this is when the parade would be. So. You fill your schedule after that, but then you realize like, oh, like I finally can breathe from baseball. But then your off season lifestyle kind of picks up, and you're just like, it's just this weird thing where we've even learned now to kind of give it a couple weeks in November before we start really making those plans. Like, as you're saying, we travel a lot, and we were in London over in December, and then we traveled to Chicago to see family, and it's you got to make those plans long ahead of time and leave October. October isn't an option.
No,
not when you work for the Astros.
No, it's not.
And I think it's important too to know. And again, our 3rd week in a row we're doing a baseball professional, but you have to love what you do, because it is such a grind. And if you didn't love it, it would feel like probably a lot more work than it is. Because we can all look at it objectively like, oh my gosh, it's so cool you have all these experiences. But like at the same time, if you don't love baseball, it's probably even harder to get up and go to work in the day. And that's why like having you at like what do you do in the dog days? I think that's so important just for anyone who's looking to get into the industry. It's not just cut and dry. Like, oh my gosh, I'm working in baseball. I get to hang out with the players and I get rings. Like, it's every step to that. And this is just the reward. And you get all these cool experiences as a result of it. But obviously you have a passion for the game and you're in it and you're reaping the benefits because you're with a great organization that keeps winning. And you're probably not going to not win anytime in the near future.
Yeah. It's very much the truth. You have to have a spouse that really loves the game too. I mean, we sit and watch just about every game together. And she's really into baseball too. So, it's a lifestyle. It really is a lifestyle. It's a long season. And you have to enjoy it. Otherwise you won't make it. It's just kind of cut and dry, that simple.
Yeah. And it's great that you get to enjoy it with your partner too. I mean, just unbelievably special to be able to do that, and that she's helping you chase your dream, which is great.
Yeah.
Absolutely. All right. Anything else on these pesky Houston Astros that just win all the time?
I don't think so. I think we need to jump into the next segment, which is a segment that we've been doing for the last several weeks here. We call it Fan Favorites, and pretty much what we do for those of you who have not watched the show before, if this happens to be your first time tuning in. So we pick a position on the diamond, and we pick a player that we liked from the past at that position, kind of list some reasons why we like that player, and then we transition to a current player and do that. So our position this week is left field. Not really known as a defensive position, but known for the bats. I mean, there's lots of incredible bats over the years and now. So why don't we have our guest pick his past, Ryan? What do you got? Is there a left fielder from your past who you really just either looked up to or really enjoyed watch play? There's a lot of options out there. I'm curious to see what you pick.
Yeah. I mean, it's good. It's tough. Like outfielders are, and really when you think left fielder, it's like it's got to be a left fielder. Like that guy that was in left field. Growing up, I want to say like Carlos Lee. I loved Carlos Lee. Good hitter, good defensive left fielder. But I got to come back to real professional hitter, good defensive guy. It's hard not to be biased, but Michael Brantley, as of a couple weeks ago,
yes, he is now a past player.
Yeah, I've been asked who my favorite Astro is, and I come back to Michael Brantley. Michael Brantley is one of my favorite Astro. Is probably my favorite Astro.
That's Mikey Smooth, man. That's Mikey Smooth.
He does his homework. He always knows the hitter. He doesn't chase. When he swings, he at least hit foul tip or something. He rarely swings and misses. Just a student of the game. Great human being. I'm going to go Michael Brantley.
He's one of those guys we were kind of talking about last week about guys that just kind of got robbed by health a little bit. I think the last couple of years he's such a good hitter, even at age 35, and we just kind of didn't get to see him end his career how he should have. I like Michael Brantley. He would almost be a present one for me just because it was so fresh that he is retired. But great hitter, good fielder. I mean, Houston, you guys got a weird wall out there, so you got to be able to play it funky. And some people might like, oh, it makes the throw shorter. It's like, yeah, but you got to know how to play that. And then the carrying out to that big, like, it's so goofy. And fortunately, you got rid of the hill in the middle.
Yeah.
Actually, when we visited, they still had.
Okay, it would have been 2016. Yes,
they had the hill still.
But like, how bizarre! But like, it just is that much more of a challenge for whoever's patrolling that area, and you need a really good center fielder too. It used to had to be a lot faster. Willie Tavares was one that I remember being an Astros.
Willie T.
But you needed both those positions to actually be able to field their spot, and Michael Brantley is very good fielder as well.
The other thing that Michael Brantley got robbed of is just accolades. Like I'm thankful that Major League Baseball looks more at the entire body of work rather than all the hardware you brought home, because there's so many incredible players who don't make the Hall of Fame or don't make all-star teams or win Silver Sluggers because some guy had a freak year. Like Michael Brantley was probably like you could put his stats up there with a lot of like 5, 6, 7-time All-Stars. And I even remember him back in Cleveland, like just loving to watch him hit and just studying every pitcher with diligence and precision and just having a professional at bat. I can probably count on one hand the number of times I saw him have a bad at bat. Like the guy was just unbelievably locked in. And honestly, the game will miss him, and I will miss him. I hope that he is involved in some facet, and that we get to see him because, again, just a great human being as well. That's a great pick, man.
Well, Ryan, this is funny. This is the second week in a row you've made that comment about, because you mentioned Johnny Damon last week and how he didn't win the accolades. You know what? And especially talking with Ryan Veinotte last week, we asked him, what are his goals? He does not care. Michael Brantley, I guarantee he does not care that he did not win more Silver Sluggers or Gold Gloves or whatever. Johnny Damon does not care that he did not win an MVP. He has multiple rings. That's what they're chasing. That's, it's this eternal glory. It's this connection to the fans, whatever it is. But like, they don't care that they didn't win one or two more accolades. So yeah.
And Michael Brantley is famous for, of course, he was on Cleveland when he lost to the Cubs. He was on, and then he was on the 19 Astros and the 21 Astros. And then we fall 2-1 to the Phillies in 2022. He's known for this speech that he made after this. He's like, I'm not going 0-4 in the World Series. Like, this is happening.
Yep. Absolutely. You want to go first? Because you made me go first last week, so you go.
Okay. My guy is I would probably say if he's not the best pure hitter of our generation, then he is a top 3. My guy's Manny Ramirez. Manny was the epitome of just a locked in monster of a hitter. I mean, driving the ball to all fields, very tough for any pitcher, even on their best day, to get out. I mean, he was an absolute machine, and when he was in Cleveland, and the fact that team did not win a World Series while he was there, they were loaded. They had the Alomars, they had Albert Bell, they had Omar Vizquel, they had I think Steve Finley was in center field. Who else?
Did Jim Tomei too?
Jim Tomei was on that team. It's like this team was just a juggernaut, and they didn't get the job done. And then he goes to Boston, and business as usual. And he is part of that team that breaks the curse. He wins the World Series MVP. He wins another one in 2007. Then he kind of bounced around for the rest of his career after the Red Sox. But when he got traded in 2008 to the Dodgers, he had that second half where he hit I think he hit 396 or 400. Absolute just monster second half. They upset the Cubs, who were in first place in the ALDS. Manny was kind of leading the charge for that, and then he just kind of wrapped his career up. The steroid thing, it's a little bit disappointing, but a lot of guys were doing it back then. A lot of guys didn't get caught. I still think he should be in the Hall of Fame. He's just one of those guys where I just can't imagine baseball without him. Just all the fun he used to have in the outfield too, like the climbing up the wall and giving someone a high five in the stands and throwing the ball in and spiking the ball. But again, just great professional hitter, awesome baseball player. He's my past guy for sure.
Also, the batting averages from late 90s, early 2000s are compared to today's game. I mean, everyone was hitting 340, 350. Not one guy's hitting that, and the rest of the league is 200. So, yeah, he was definitely in the middle of those very high batting averages, which I miss a lot because there's just not enough hitting in today's game.
I mean, he was 312 career, 996 OPS, 500 doubles, 500 homers, 1,800 RBIs. 1,200 runs scored, 2,600 hits, incredible, just video game numbers.
Yeah. And literally the best video game, MVP 05.
Yes. The cover.
Video game. What are you talking about? He's definitely on my list. I like Manny. Carlos Lee was another one that I wrote down of like, yeah, that was a guy I definitely.
El
El
Caballo.
Caballo. Moises Alou was a guy I used to
Ooh,
emulate
good
his
choice.
batting
Yeah.
stance.
Yep.
Until we figured out why he wasn't wearing batting gloves. No, I liked him. But it's very. If I had to pick one, Ryan knows it's Eric Burns. That's why I wore 22 when I got to pick numbers that weren't 1 through 12 in
Yeah.
Little League.
Yeah.
Just the way he played, just the reckless abandon. He was much better in Arizona than he was in Oakland, but Oakland was really where I learned to like him and learned to like his gameplay. He was also always dirty and sliding, which is something I like to do. I still do. I still have to get at least some sort of dirt on my pants if I'm playing slow pitch softball, even though I have to wash them now, which is a different, story. But just the way he played the game and slides and running through a brick wall, it's that player was who I wanted to be. Whether I was good or not, I at least wanted to show that effort and hustle, and I like to do it. But yeah, Eric Burns, and now he's getting all the publicity with bananas and all that other stuff he's doing. But I liked him better when it was just no one really knew who he was.
Yeah.
What about current?
This
Current.
Harder, but
It's
unless it's an Astro.
I mean, I said I wouldn't pick Astros for both, but of course, I love Jordan. Huge Mr. October.
Yes.
Great deal with the Dodgers. Josh Fields for Jordan Alvarez.
Yes.
Oh
my gosh, Josh Fields. I remember Josh Fields.
Yeah, great pickup.
Pick?
Yeah. But I like current. I mean, if I'm gonna pick somebody, I like Randy Arozarena, but I'm gonna go Kyle Schwarber.
Okay.
Kyle Schwarber, good major league career. And he's definitely scary when he's up. You're pitching against him in the World Series. He doesn't chase. He hits the ball hard. Major league student of the game. Him and Bryce Harper make a really good duo in Philly. They're fun to watch. So yeah, Kyle Schwarber is definitely my current.
Yeah, he just had the most bizarre season anyone's ever had.
Yeah. I just looked at.
It just made no sense. Absolutely,
it's crazy that you picked it because I literally looked at his stat line today at work. Like I just looked at it to look at it. I'm just like, wow. Like I knew like he did some things really well and some things not so well, but it just goes to show that how outdated batting average can be. Because I'm like looking at it, I'm like, well, 200 is not good. Like it's not.
Yeah.
197 is worse, so that's what he hit. But that's 1 out of 5 at bats that he's getting a hit. His OBP is about 350, so he's still getting on. But like just the long ball, his power is just extraordinary. Like there's not a lot of people who can hit the ball like he does.
Yeah, and just like when you're pitching against a guy like that, you're no matter who's pitching, if it's Verlander or anybody, like this is a good hitter. Like it's scary to be pitching to this guy. So yeah, it's
especially leading off a game when
right.
you hit a 400 plus tank on you to start your day. That's a rough
and you're just trying to get into a groove as a pitcher, like when you're just starting the game off, and this guy just ambushes you right away and just 450 to dead center.
Yeah, I like the power leadoff guy. I feel like that leadoff position has redefined a bit. It's like instead of getting them on or just have him hit a bomb, like just have that power leadoff guy instead.
Absolutely. Well, I will kind of continue the train with the leadoff hitters. So my left fielder, and I was looking at because left field, like there's obvious guys, like we like the Cubs, so like Ian Happ's out there, and I like aspects of his game for sure. But I went to ESPN and I like looked at the left field position, and I the guy that I'm picking also had equal amount of time in left, right, and center, so he's playing all 3 positions. But this is rookie of the year for the NL, Corbin Carroll. He is a blast to watch. And I mean, highly rated prospect, first round draft pick, got picked out of high school. He's from the Seattle area, but just has a motor. Like, speed is something that, like, you can get faster, but speed that Corbin Carroll has can't be taught. Like, it's just in you. And the fact that he can do so many things well, like, he can hit bombs, he can play really good defense. His arm is pretty decent, and his base running is incredible. Not only from the stolen base side of things, but just running the bases. Like from just remembering Chris Bryant in his prime, just like how he was able to run the bases well. Like, that's the way that Corbin Carroll runs the bases. Like, he is a threat to go from first to home. If you hit one in the gap and bobble the ball, like, he's going to take advantage of that. He's going to put himself in scoring position if he hits a single. Like, he can lay down a bunt if he needs to. Like, he's just one of those guys where you can't take a play off and they don't. Like, when we were talking to Noda last week, he said that was the biggest thing about baseball was the mental game and having to be on all the time for every single play, because there's not an easy out. And then when you have a guy like Corbin Carroll, who's really not an easy out, it's like, this guy can do and will do anything to help his team. So, and he's going to do that. And I'm very much looking forward to watching him play. He's only 23 years old. I'm hoping that his best years are ahead of him, hoping they're healthy, because we need to see more of that guy for sure.
Yep. Yeah, I think every team would take 9 of him on their roster, regardless of how well they do. He's just the way he plays. But I would continue on the leadoff train. I have 2. One's the true one, but I do like watching Stephen Kwan.
Oh, yeah.
Like good pick.
I like the way he hits. He doesn't do a lot of swing and miss. He sees a lot of pitches, takes a lot of walks. Ryan's like, oh, we're going away from the batting average. I love batting average. I love hits.
Yeah.
I like balls in play. It's fun. He's also good defensively. I don't think did he win Rookie of the Year last year?
I thought he did.
I thought he might have. But just
he was an all-star, I thought, or won a Gold Glove.
But it was one of those things where they were kind of waiting for him, because he's not a super power hitter. He hits a couple, but they're kind of waiting for him to fade off and do whatever. But you're 2 years in, and you're a really good hitter, and you're a major league talent, and so he's been a guy that's been fun to watch and kind of keep tabs on. But this is another guy. I want to stay healthy. It's definitely Chris Bryant. I would still classify him as a third baseman, but he's currently in left field, so I'm gonna use it. Chris Bryant was a guy that especially as a Cub, just how can you not like the guy? And then now going out to Colorado, I understand what he was doing. The Cubs weren't going to sign him to a big deal. He got the big deal. I think we're getting robbed of a really great player that just can't stay healthy.
Yeah.
And it's just, hopefully this year he kind of figures it out and can stay on the field, but he's kind of getting to that 30s now where it's like you're not going to be healthier unless you just miraculously get a new ankle or a new knee or something. So, but yeah, Chris Bryant is he can probably come to Chicago whenever he wants and go wherever he wants, but that's a near and dear pick there for me.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I have one more question before we let you go, and we very much appreciate your time. So I am a big food person, and our experience in Texas with the barbecue and with everything else was just incredible. What is your favorite spot in Houston to get a meal?
Yeah, absolutely. So I ran the Houston half marathon on Sunday.
I saw that.
Yeah, and I was very much looking forward to the meal afterwards that me and another friend had chosen, and that's El Tiempo Cantina. It's great Tex-Mex, great quesadillas, great fajitas, great margaritas. I'm not a big alcohol guy, but a lot of people love the margaritas, and they're a sponsor in our ballpark. So it's great. El Tiempo, but Pinkerton's barbecue is a close second as well.
Okay.
So, yeah.
I was trying to remember. I can't remember if we got those smoked wings in Houston.
So we called
ate a
Gatlin's.
lot of barbecue when we were there.
It's called Gatlin's Barbecue.
Gatlin's, yeah.
Gatlin's, I don't even know if I haven't been to Gatlin's.
You need to go. I had the best wings of my life there, and they're smoked
Yeah.
wings. I still have a picture of them. Just I don't even think I needed any sauce. I got a big pulled pork sandwich and I got some wings, and those were the best. So you need to check Gatlin's out. It's sick. It's so good.
Okay. All right.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well,
Well, it was good seeing you guys. And thanks for having me on and just it's been a pleasure. Thanks for everything you're doing with this. It's just fun to just hear guys talk about baseball. Like it's just a good little forum to just get on and listen while I'm running and it's just I want to say I'm appreciative of you guys taking the initiative to do this as much as you are of me having me here.
Mhm.
I think everyone's got a different perspective on what the game looks like for them, and especially when you do it for work, it just makes it even more. But even if you're just a fan, like that's part of what we're doing. We're just having good conversations, and we appreciate your time as well. Carving out now, because this is a better time than probably 2 months from
Yeah.
now when you're in full swing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, anytime you want to come on, my friend, you are more than welcome. Whether it's to talk about the Astros or something that you guys are doing. Again, it's so cool from our little corner of the world in Lake County that all these
Yes.
people are making this impact and they're in this game and they're loving what they're doing. And again, so proud of you and what you're doing. Glad that you're doing well. Glad that you and Kendra are enjoying life out in Texas. And yeah, just again, thank you so much, and thank you for doing what you do. We appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks a lot, guys. And you guys have a good one now.
Yeah,
You
you
too.
too, my
All right,
friend.
and that's boots come in pairs. Take it easy, guys.
Peace.